All right, this is Dice Mob. We are having a table talk discussion. We have these every week, Saturday mornings at 12 Central. Talking with the Order of Azaleus. Some members from there. It's a Discord group that I'm a part of. You'll be able to see all the links and everything inside my Twitch and my YouTube and my Twitter, as a matter of fact. Are all joined together. At Twitter, it is at Dice Mob Gaming. That's where you can find me and us. This week, we don't have a whole lot going on this week. It's
Cool.
is
I got
the
up on the computer now.
okay, good. We don't have a whole lot going on this week. It is the holiday season, so we don't really have much of a panel going on. We're just going to kind of go over a few things. So usually how Table Talk works for those tuning in at Twitch is we spend about the first hour. I invite a panel of individuals from the Order of Azaleus, and I have questions that are submitted throughout the week, either through our Discord channel or conversations I have, or through the website that you can see right now. It's
Am I still clear?
yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. So yeah, as you can see, those tuning in on Twitch, there is the Order of Azaleus website. That's where I get a lot of my questions, and I have my panel there. I got to remember that I got to push to talk so that the people who are actually on the Discord can hear me. Everybody in Twitch world can hear me, but not the people that I'm talking to. So for those that were in the Discord group, I was doing my introduction, and so now you're all caught up. So again, there's not a whole lot going on this week. We'll go over a few subjects. There were a couple that we did not cover last week. Usually I do this for about an hour with a direct panel, and then ask for some comments from the audience on the certain subjects that we're talking about. But then the second hour is kind of a free-for-all. We just kind of all talk. Rules that I have is if everything is push to talk through the Discord. If someone is talking, that we allow them to fully finish their whatever it is they're talking about. If things get a little long-winded, then I'll definitely step in and make sure we keep the ball rolling and stay on subject. But we just want to make sure that we're not interrupting each other. That way it doesn't turn into Super Smash Bros. Discord. Even during the free-for-all, it's not really regulated by me. I'm hosting well, I guess I could introduce myself. You guys know me, Von Bolo, on Twitch, Xbox, and Twitter. Now I'm fully going on with at Dice Mob Gaming, and I'm actually today I'll be streaming Overwatch through my Twitch channel, Dice Mob Gaming, a little later today. Because I just found out you can do that on Xbox now. I did not know that. I knew you. Yeah. I knew you could do. What the hell was that called? The other streaming thing that's not Twitch. God, the name just escapes me. But I used to do that a little bit with a friend of mine. We got a little bit of movement on it. But yeah, now you can just do it straight from your Xbox, and you can stream straight to your Twitch. So I'm going to try that out today, see how that works out. So you guys can tune in for that. So let me kind of talk about what the Order of Azaleus actually is. It is a Discord group started a few months ago from Osarian Legacy. Started a Discord group with a couple of friends, and we all started coming together, just a big D&D tabletop group, running campaign built by Osarian Legacy, who's we call Lord Commander. And from that, we actually started building an even bigger group, and we actually have about, usually we have anywhere between 3 and 6 campaigns running a week, once or twice a day, usually. The core group that is running some stuff in Waterdeep through a homebrew, that's the big one that Osarian built, is kind of on a hiatus because the groups went through, and you can see all of these videos at Dice Mob Gaming on Twitch. Um, and the groups went through because we got to go out in squads, and we're on certain missions that are all tied to an overarching campaign. Well, the squads went out, and we found all the information we were looking for through a series of crazy events. Every group kind of came up with their own information, and now it's all come back to the headquarters of the Order of Azaleus, and Lord Commander and his people are digging through it and putting together new missions. In the virtual sense, in the literal sense, you've got Osiran in his little laboratory digging away, building extensions to the campaign. Once he has those finished, then we'll have more missions to do. But aside from the main mission, we have Curse of Strahd on Wednesday nights. We have Horde of the Dragon Queen on Tuesday nights. We're going to have a cyberpunk / kind of Shadowrunny fantasy or JT, what's the name of that system that we're going to use? With all the six-sided dice, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, it's the Shadowrun setting, but you're gonna use Savage World as the rule set.
That's right, Savage World. That's the one. I gotta remember that. So it's going to be a Savage World kind of rule book. In that setting, everybody's really excited for this because it's just a change in kind of theater, and everybody's really motivated. So that should be fun. That's being ran by Ray Kath, who's a good friend of mine, part of the order as well. And we also have Zen, who's on here with us, is the DM of a kind of non-stop dungeon tower, mage tower campaign / one-shots that he runs Friday nights when, if he can get a group together. So that's always fun. And, you can find videos for most of these on the Twitch. So that's who we are. Everybody's welcome to join. You can see our Discord. You can send me a message. You can leave me a comment. And anybody is welcome to join the Discord at any time. We are always looking for new people. We definitely need... we would love to have DMs show up, especially if those DMs have groups and have campaigns built that we can institute our own people into, as well as welcome the DM and whoever else they bring with them into the order. The more people, the merrier, and the more DMs, the merrier, because at the end of the day, I would love to see, and I know this is shared by most, if we had 4 games running at night, that's okay with us. It is not exclusive to anybody. We are just a community of people who love to play tabletop, and we all love each other, and we love adding to the community as much as possible. So definitely don't be afraid to drop us a line or come join us. So that is that. That is the intro to Table Talk. Starting off this week, let's take a look here. Looks like one of the things we did not get to, I'm not sure if we got to it or not. Zen, I'm going to go ahead and give you some time. And this for everybody who's going to talk, don't worry about giving the full bio like you did last week. Just give an introduction who you are, maybe who your character is or what your role is in the order. And then, go ahead and say your piece. But Zen, you had asked something about game mechanics for different spell casters and classes. What were you thinking about with that?
As far as the game mechanics go, it's more of a FG, Fantasy Grounds related issue. Some of the effects are harder to code than others, and it's just something that takes a little bit of time to do. And I'm not exactly sure what you were getting at with the question there. I don't know what you were wanting to talk about.
Well, I think, aren't you Zen Brez on the Order website?
Yes.
Yeah, you'd put in a question in the comments last week. It was game mechanics for the different spellcaster classes, is all that you had said.
Oh, yes, we talked about that last week. It was how how you prepare spells and whatnot for the other classes, such as the wizard has his spell book that he has to memorize so many spells each long rest. The warlock has 2 very powerful spells at any given time. And the cleric, what was it with the cleric? he has a pool of things that he can draw from, but
That's
and then
right.
he also has his divinity spells.
Now I remember. So we were talking about how it's really important to make sure that if you're once you're building a well all classes, but especially casters, that you're paying attention to what the subclass is and what you get as far as spells just for being that subclass versus whether or not they actually affect your spell slots and readied spells. Now I do remember that, so I can check that off my list. I just didn't check it off. Want to make sure we cover that. Let's see. Storytelling, the quality of life implications. I think we already talked about that as well. Okay, so that's good too. I'll cover over the stuff that I want to talk about with social media, kind of at the end of things. I'll cover that. Kind of important, I think, for everybody to get involved in. One thing that I know Tidarian wanted to talk about, and this might sound a little Order of Azalea centric, but it's really not. On the first hour table talk, we like to make it as much generalization to D&D or role playing as possible, or tabletop role playing as possible. But Tidarian, we all know, and anybody listening is welcome to drop any comments that they can to talk about. Hey, how's it going there, Theo? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the channel. That wants to talk about if you've used Fantasy Grounds, what is with the dice rolling? Okay, I shit you not. I swear to God, and I wish somebody was here that was in that group. Maybe one of you is. I rolled.
Yes.
Yes. I rolled, I shit you not, 4 or 5 times in different rounds. Not like it was the same round and I was rolling.
It was 3.
Oh,
I
okay.
screenshotted them all.
Oh, okay. 3. Okay, thank you.
3.
It felt like forever. But anyways, it was different rounds. Okay. Not the same round. Not like I was rolling, sleep or something and I was rolling 6 dice. Literally, I rolled for my rogue, not only the sword attack, but also the sneak attack, ones. Both of them were ones, 3 rounds in a row. And that's not including all of the rest of the time that everybody else did in that exact same run. There has got to be something with the algorithm that Fantasy Grounds is using to roll this dice. And I'm really going to propose it to the group, the order, that we start rolling on our own or give it a choice whether or not we roll on our own, because it is ridiculous. I played tabletop games for the better part of 20, going on 20, 30 years now. God, yeah, I'm getting old as hell. Yeah, 20 going on 30 years. And I have never seen so many straight up ones. And this is what I think it is. And I'm no tech guy. And I'm sure as hell not a programmer. But I did a little bit of reading about it. And there's no perfect way how to make a randomized dice roll. But what I think it is it has to do with lag. And I think what's happening is when we click on the dice to roll it, depending on where the server access is, I don't think it's actually queuing the dice correctly. So it's just like stuck on the 1. It's like just stuck there.
Yeah.
And because it happens, and it's not like, okay, yeah, we're getting under 10. We're talking like 1s all session. Then all of a sudden you get pop out with a 20. But it's seriously, I don't know. Cresera, go ahead and give us your opinion on that since you were chiming in so much. Introduce yourself a little bit. You can give yourself a little bit of background if you want to, and then give your 2 cents about that. Go ahead.
I mean, I did introduce myself like a few weeks back, like the full introduction. So basically, I was involved in Zembrez's campaign at first, but then like my whatchamacallit? What's it called? Schedule is.
It's just a tower run.
I can't be involved in as many. And so now I'm just involved in this Sunday night game as Cresera. Basically, we've been rolling a lot of 1s, and it's like, you don't even know how it happens. But like, I wouldn't switch because my rolls in real life aren't much better than those virtual ones. Yeah. like, I do think it would be a good choice if we started rolling with real dice to like actually have a sense of randomization.
Yeah, I feel the same way. At least give them the choice. I understand the pros and cons of that because you don't want people cheating, but I mean, I'd rather take people cheating than, rolling freaking one after one after one. JT, you got anything to say about that?
I mean, not much. I mean, to try to figure out Fantasy Grounds issues, we're just all speculating unless we somehow were able to get into the code and figure it out. But yeah, there's definitely pros and cons either way. My opinion, I think I would just stick with it on Fantasy Grounds for me, just because of the pros of doing it on Fantasy Grounds. Like you said, there's pros and cons either way, but that's my opinion. Oh, JT played Matic in the Assyrian campaign, and I'm a GM and player in weekly campaigns for the audience. Sorry.
Yeah, JT runs our not Curse of Strahd, but our Horde of the Dragon Queen run Tuesday nights that I'm a part of. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Core the Mighty is definitely having his issues in that campaign, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, because then if you start thinking about if we start rolling our own, you kind of miss out on the auto saving throws that Fantasy Grounds gives you, and the auto this and the auto that. So it's kind of a give or take kind of a thing, and it ultimately it's up to the DM. I don't know. I guess as a player, it just gets really frustrating. I mean, I don't pay attention to what the mobs are rolling, so I'm not sure if it's just me or if it's, if the mobs are under the same scenario when the DM's rolling for them. I don't know. It's just there's something weird about it because I can't believe there's so many super low rolls and so many misses so often. But we kind of have to take it as it comes. But when you do it a ton of times in a row, it starts to get crazy. Oh, go ahead, GT.
I was gonna say I was not a part of the one that you were in. However, you were part of one where I did basically the same thing with Frank doing one shot, and I rolled 3 critical fails in a row when it was my turn.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
like each turn it was like critical fail. Okay, next turn critical fail, and he was rolling with the crit fumble rules, so I just got worse and worse and worse. But it's definitely frustrating. I can definitely see that. It does seem like it's not as random as some of the other programs, but again, if you take it out, then you're losing all the automation, all the effects, all the coding that Fantasy Ground offers. So, like I said, pros and cons. You just have to, I guess, make a decision what you like more.
Yeah, it might be something that DMs who are open to that at least should at least address it at their session 0. That way it's done. Cool.
Agreed.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Oh, Zen, did you have anything to add to that?
Just since we started this, I've been tossing a 20 into my chat box, D20 into my check box. I'm up to about 75 rolls. I've gotten about 3 ones. So it doesn't seem to be too overly heavy to the 1, but I have been sub 10 quite a bit, so I'm not sure. It might just be the server, like you were saying before. It might just be a real weird server issue.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We could also roll this into. Sorry. All right. We could.
No worries.
All right, now that it's muted. I was going to say you could roll that into the advantages of a D20 system versus a 3D6 or a 2D6 system, if you will.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh? That's definitely true. All right, well, we'll have to address that a little bit further. Anybody listening has any comments about that? If you've used Fantasy Grounds, or at least any type of virtual, or I should say, streaming, online gaming experience dealing with people who may or may not have been cheating during dice rolls when they roll their own, because we've all been there. If you played online, there's always that one person that for some reason is scoring like a whole lot of hits and high damage all the time, and you're kind of like, but you know, unless you're like me and you're just a pessimist, anyways. But so yeah, I don't have a whole lot else, guys. I guess it's kind of nice that we started a little bit late. Um, I was hoping Rick
did
has.
have
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Zach.
did have one more thing. Um, Last time I was playing the Curse of Strahd, I ended up getting Nat 20 twice on initiative. That was a pretty fun event.
Yeah, it's always good when you get a couple of 20s in a row.
That's because you warmed them up.
Yeah, you warmed them up. That's right. Zen's rolling all these dice in the thing, saying, "I gotta warm up my dice so I don't get any ones," and it might have worked. Oh, I was gonna ask, did anybody else try any homebrew classes or races this week after we talked about it last week? Did anybody try to go down that road to see if they had any different experience? I'll take that as a no. Sweet. That's a fun thing. I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed that. I didn't finish off that class, but I'm going to go back to it now that I'm on my holiday vacation and do it a little bit more to see what I could find. And then I'll actually want to try it out.
How do you make a homebrew class or race?
Well, it's really cool. D&D Beyond, as the Critical Role sound. Every time I say D&D Beyond, all I hear is that freaking song from that awesome cartoon they had for the first year.
D&D.
Yep, exactly. Every time I say D&D Beyond, the first thing I think of is not jumping and stabbing your dagger in some Noel's mouth. But with D&D Beyond, you can go to, well, I can do it over here, and I'll walk us through it. Let's see here. Where is... All right, so if you click on your top left name, I believe you go down to characters, and then, no, it's not under characters. What is it under? Oh, I'm a liar. Okay, so on the left side, right below the D&D Beyond logo, you got My Content. You can go down to where it says, I believe it's Homebrew Creations. And through there, yeah, then you've got the little button that says Create. And you can kind of create from there. Subclass. Oh, looks like a whole bunch of stuff. Now they got backgrounds, feats, magical items, monsters, races, spells, and subclass. Huh. Now I pay the.
That's cool.
Yeah, I pay the $5 a month for D&D Beyond for some access. I didn't even know I was paying for it because Raycath was like, "Dude, I only got like 6 character slots and I've got unlimited." I'm like, so I didn't know where it came from. So I don't know if everybody gets that same those same options for homebrew, but that's a lot of fun. I've actually created a weapon. I had I was with an online group where I was playing what the hell was he? Excuse me, level 11 assassin archer, basically. And his backstory was, because I always loved this idea, because so I played D&D as a kid, and I always wondered, you know, and I had this, we leveled out to level, gosh, what was it back then? I think it was level 20, what you went to in basic. I can't remember. And leveled them out and everything, but I always thought always wondered what it'd be like if my high level fighter married or got with a high level something else, and then they had kids, what those kids would be like. So I built this character. He was a halfling, and his father and mother were extremely high, kind of well known for the area they came from, adventurers that did like some epic level shit. Like they like saved the world type stuff. And then their last mission, they saved a colony, kind of like how Ten Towns works, where it's just kind of a collection of cultures, was attacked by said enemy, and I think it was dragons, and they'd gone in and saved them. Well, that whole town that these people were from that was rampaged and destroyed. So his mother and father were already talking about retiring, so to speak, quote unquote, retiring at the time anyways. So they decided, well, we're going to retire and we're going to build a town and we're going to have all these refugees live with us. And so they build Greentown in a forest far away. And then they had Vander Smallbow because his dad took on the name Smallbow, and his dad had 4 fingers on his firing hand, and Vander was built was had the same thing. He had 4 fingers on his firing hand, which was kind of fun to play with. Because I'd say stuff like, you always know a small bow by their firing hand, which has more than one meaning that they're like really good shots. Because his dad was the ranger, his mother was a rogue, and they both raised him to be like a city official and to stay away from the road. But the call of the road got him, but they'd also taught him skills. And on the slide, his mom was teaching him how to steal stuff and all of her little rogue tricks when dad wasn't looking, because mom's kind of a funny lady like that. Anyways, too much detail. Anyway, so I had to build. So one of the things was that since his dad was an archer, Vander's big bond was actually his father's bow. So what happened is Vander decided that he couldn't stand it anymore, and the call from the road was too much, that he actually stole his father's bow, which was called One Shot, and had like an elven name to it. And we built it like a vestige. So as Vander leveled and more used the bow started unlocking things and powers and more pluses, so to speak, and just was enhancing itself as Vander. So like if Vander's dad was to pick up the bow and attune to it, the bow would remember Vander's father and unlock everything. But for Vander, as he's using it, slowly starts to unlock. Well, my DM I built the bow on D&D Beyond, and then my DM gave me the statistics, and I just added those, and it was crazy. It was like once per day. Well, it started out that each creature I shot with a bow had to make a Constitution saving throw. If it failed the Constitution saving throw, it took 3d6 fire damage and burned. If it passed the save, then it was immune to the effect from that point on. Kind of like, I think there's a couple mobs that work the same way. Like poison, if you save the poison on the first roll, then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the fight against that specific creature. So it was overpowered. It was great. And it was a lot of fun to build, and it was a completely homebrewed bow, and it was a lot of fun. And that character's a lot of fun, and he might make his way to the Order someday, because I actually left that campaign because of my work with the Order. But yeah, so you get cool stuff like that. Like you can build items, and you can build feats, and you can do all this shit that you've always wanted to do. And I built a class that's, kind of cheesy, and I'm working my way through it because I always like the idea. First thing I like is I like how Rangers, Rangers, I like when they level, you can choose things. Instead of like a barbarian where you choose a certain type of barbarian, with Rangers, you kind of choose a certain type of Ranger, but it's more like the skills. Like, okay, at level 3, you get skills that may apply to your archery, they might apply to your hand-to-hand or your melee, stuff like that. And I really like that customization option. So that's kind of why I chose Ranger, and how I built it was you unlock certain things and you have choices of spells at you certain levels that you can choose from. I like the idea of choice without having to be really locked into something. But yeah, that's kind of how homebrew is, and you can do races. I haven't even touched races because that would be freaking crazy. But right now for classes, you can only do subclasses on D&D Beyond. I don't know if that opens up in a different type of subscription, or if that's just what they've chose to do because it's the easiest way to craft it on the website because it's all drop-down menus. I don't know, but I'd recommend anybody doing it. Anybody else have anything to say about that?
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I don't know.
I would say if you're wanting to consider it, and I think anyone that's really a big fan of RPGs in general should look at Savage Worlds and the Genesis system if you're looking at kind of creating homebrews, because both of those have really good systems on how to do that. Even if you don't want to play those, they have the system built into the rule set to just design whatever you want: items, races, abilities. And normally the way it works is you essentially have kind of a base class, so human, and then you go from there. So I want my guy to have wings, and fangs. So he's like some flying poisonous thing. And so you look up what flying's worth. And in this case, it's like a +3 ability. So you'd actually have to negative, give yourself some negative. So maybe negative in constitution because you're lightweight or whatever. The fangs is a +2 ability. So you just balance stuff out. With Genesis, it's all done by experience because it's an experience-based system. But I think both of those systems are good to read and look at, even if you don't want to play, just to learn how they are balancing races, classes, abilities, and stuff like that, because it's just interesting.
Yeah, I love the idea of homebrewing. But Braycath brought up a great point last week. He said, before you homebrew a class well, at least a class, make sure you look at the chance of multi-classing because you might actually find a way to merge it. It might take a little bit longer for you to get it. Instead of jumping right out of the chute, you have this amalgamation or whatever it is that you've created with a homebrew, but at least maybe you have something that you don't have to worry about building all the rules. And because there is a lot to it, like you have to, there's a lot of things you have to select and you have to think about when homebrewing through D&D Beyond to make it look right and to actually show, because it shows the progression as I level my character. Like if my homebrew character was level 2, it'll literally show you everything that I set to restrict only to level 2. So it's set up that way. There's not a whole lot of hand holding after you actually build it, and it follows the progression just like any other class does. But maybe multi-classing answers it, so you guys definitely want to think about that too.
Yeah, and never forget you can change stuff like cosmetically. So you might be a ranger, but instead of using a bow or whatever, you're shooting some crazy looking thing, but mechanically it's the exact same as shooting a bow. Or if you're a wizard, instead of casting spells, maybe you have a big spirit that's behind you, and instead of casting, and you cast fireball, but in the game, your spirit is running over there and exploding to kind of create, a different visual effect that would explain or describe your homebrew character, even though mechanically it's the same as something else.
That is badass. That is a great, great idea. Um, what an interesting idea. Like,
For an example, there was a Dawnforge cast talked about a warlock, and he had a goblin, and all of his spells came from his contract. But the way it worked is he basically had this paladin that he looked up to, and when he died, he went over and prayed or whatever, and the paladin is like chained to him, so he took warlock of the chain. But when he cast Eldritch Blast, all he's doing is the spirit of that paladin is running forward and punching the whatever he's fighting and pushing them. Or he cast fly, he's jumping on the back of this paladin and the spirit is flying him away. As an example.
that is very interesting. That piques my that makes me think of a lot of different things. Just taking a class that's there, changing the theme of what's happening without changing the mechanics. That's brilliant. I like that, JT. That's good shit. All right. Well, that's our first hour. I want to take a 5 to 10 minute break. Everybody, grab your water. Do what you got to do. Anybody online, don't go away. You'll see a little. We'll be right back screen, and then we'll come back for a little open mic time as much as possible, and we'll go from there. Again, this is Dice Mob Gaming, Order of Azaleus. This is Table Talk, so we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. We do enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe, like, pin, forward, like, whatever it is you do, retweet, all that stuff, all the things. Do all the things. We greatly appreciate it, and do leave comments. And I do say every week, whether they're positive or negative, we don't care. Just give us a comment. We can take constructive criticism, or just tell us we're all fucking stupid and shut up. That's fine. At least it's a comment. Any feedback is great. We do appreciate it. So yeah, the first hour went really well. I think we covered some great stuff. It is open mic time, so if anybody has, and this is free game, Fantasy Grounds. Hell, if you want to talk about Star Wars, I don't care. It's free game. It's table talk time. You can talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about the fact that your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend's an asshole? I don't care. We'll talk about that too. So whatever you guys want to talk about, it's free game. Anybody wants to go, just go. And go.
Anyone else feel like the Solo movie was really good?
The what?
The Solo movie! The Star Wars movie about Han Solo.
Oh, yeah. No, that was freaking awesome. I thought that shit was great. Everybody keeps saying it bombed. It didn't bomb. That shit was great.
Right?
It made like 300 million.
That's the I watched it.
It's really good. Like, if you know the Han Solo books, there's a trilogy that came out, I don't know, 90s-ish. It kind of follows them pretty close. There's a lot that was left out, but it hits pretty much the major points, and then it obviously ad-libs. But it's good. I'd recommend it, man. I definitely would recommend it. The guy playing Han Solo did a great job. The guy playing Lando did a great job. I thought it was all around a great movie. So the only reason that people are throwing a fit is because they still have broken hearts about Last Jedi, which, that was shit. But if Solo would come out, this is where they screwed up. If they wanted Solo to be this huge success that it could have been, they shouldn't have released it so soon. They should have made that the release for the Christmas season this year, because you're supposed to release one every Christmas season. That should have been the release for Christmas season this year, to give everybody their little fix for Star Wars. And a lot of those negative, you have a whole another 6, 7, 8 months for people to get over the whole Last Jedi debacle, and it probably would have made, another 200 or 300 million.
Yeah.
Because it made 300 million just on its own with everybody being pissed off. It would have done great if they would have just waited till now to release it. They would have gotten probably twice as much money. But I recommend anybody watching it.
Like, if they waited until now to release it, I would have seen it in theaters rather than pirating it when it was out of theaters. It's just a fact of life.
Yeah, hypothetically, unofficially, that's what could have, could have happened.
I really, since the first three, man, I've just been disappointed more and more each time they release one. And so after Last Jedi, I was just like, I'm just done. Like, I am not excited about anything Star Wars.
No,
I
this
just
one
feel
was
like cash
actually
grabs.
I think the Darth Jar Jar theory would have been it would have been
It
weird,
wasn't a
but kind
theory.
of cool at the same time.
If Jar Jar was like Dark Sidious, yeah, I think that would have been hilarious. That would have made the first three bearable.
Yeah.
Have you seen that theory, Tony?
Yeah, I have. That Jar Jar was
Okay.
actually
Dark Sidious,
Darth
He's
Sidious.
the
Isn't
whole
it
or
like
the Emperor's
not
master.
actually a theory?
martial arts style and waving his hands all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't believe in luck in the Star Wars universe. It's them influencing the Force unwittingly. But Jar Jar seems to always be able to do exactly what needs to be done. So yeah, that's kind of a funny. It would have caught me off guard if they had done that at the end of episode 2. That would have caught me way off guard.
But apparently it was actually confirmed that Jar Jar was supposed to be like the big evil mastermind Sith Lord. But then I think they looked at like the popularity thing. It was like too cliche or something, and so he ended up not being the
Yeah,
overlying
they
thing.
he was overall seen as a comic relief and kind of just a thrown in there, didn't really have a purpose. So he scored really low.
He was the scapegoat because, to be honest, even without Jar Jar, the first Star Wars was not that good.
It was,
Like, if you
Yeah.
would remove Jar Jar completely, it still would not have been a great Star Wars.
yeah, maybe he was there to sell toys, and that worked. Everybody had a Jar Jar fucking toy or a doll or something. Anyways, but the theory that I
I
had,
enjoyed them though.
yeah, well,
Probably because I watched like the first three first, like episodes 1, 2, and 3 first, and then 4, 5, 6.
yeah, my son did the same thing, and he still likes those.
Ooh, so I heard a better way as far as sequencing it. You watch 4 or 5, and then whenever it's revealed that Darth Vader's the father, then you go back and watch 1, 2, and 3, the origin story of Darth Vader, and then finally watch 6 as the conclusion.
And then everything makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
My big theory as my Tony centric theory was that actually, so I'm a huge Darth Bane fan, and if you don't know who Darth Bane is, those listening, you're selling yourself short in the Star Wars world. Darth Bane to me is the ultimate Star Wars character. So the guy starts out, the book starts out with him actually, he's in his 20s. He's working in a mine. He's 6'5", built like a brick shithouse. He looks like what's that guy's name? The wrestler that turned into Guardians of the Galaxy, Batista. Looks like Batista with a bald head. Has got a nice imperial accent, but he's a nobody. He's a scrub. He's a guy in a cave. And you follow his story from that to he gets discovered by the Empire as having skill. Well, he's a soldier and he has skills in the Empire. Or at the time, was it the Empire? I guess it'd be the Sith Empire back in, because this is all Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic, excuse me. And they find out, the Sith find out that he's got some powers. They bring him in. He goes to the Sith Academy. You follow him all the way through the Sith Academy, his rise through those ranks, to him leading to the destruction of the Sith Lords and the Jedis, to him instituting his own apprentice on his own, instituting the rule of two, and the path that leads you all the way to the core of what brings you to Darth Plagueis, which is the rule of two, what the Sith have been trying to do. That all starts with Darth Bane. Well, it starts with all the previous Siths, but really he's kind of the nexus where everything that the Sith religion had done up until that point, he wanted to do away with and create a new Sith ideology, the true Sith ideology, which puts all the pieces in play that carries to Darth Plagueis and then eventually to Darth Sidious, with everything coming to fruition. But the one thing that Darth, without giving away any spoilers, the one thing that he really needed to learn, that he felt he needed to learn, was a way to extend his life. Certain things happen. He finds holocrons. He does these things. Certain things happen throughout the book. So my big theory was this, that, and this is wackadoo because I have a library of 50 Star Wars books that my son and I have listened to on Audible. Through all of the books I've listened to include the Plagueis, the Darth Bane, the Sidious, all of them, and all the other shit I've listened to, I had come up with the idea that Darth Bane had actually been moving himself from one Sith Lord to the next to guarantee that his plan would be executed correctly. And every time, because so when a Darth apprentice kills his master, as far as the books go, canon or uncanon, the power of the dark side is transferred to the apprentice. The rule of two is one to hold the power of the dark side and one to covet it or want it. That's the rule of two. There's only two. There always is two. The reason why Darth Bane created that is because the Jedi, the reason why the light side of the Force was so weak to the Jedi was because if there was a finite amount of good or light side, quote unquote, light side energy, it's being dispersed amongst too many people. If you eliminate how much people are accessing that, you're starting to hone in one person holding more power. That's the idea of the rule of two, is one to hold all the power and one to crave it. And that's where you get master and apprentice. But when the apprentice kills the master, the dark side energy is transferred to them, so to speak. Well, what if that wasn't the case? What if what they were feeling being transferred to them was actually Darth Bane's essence, and he was leaving from one body to another? And you have to read the books to understand where I'm coming from for Darth Bane. And what if he went all the way through this to Darth Plagueis? Because this is where shit gets weird. Darth Plagueis, and this may be a spoiler, so you guys can hate me if you want to. Darth Plagueis is killed by Sidious, you all know this, in his sleep. Darth Plagueis, the race of Mune, I can't remember what it's called, is what Darth Plagueis is. And he suffered an injury with his respiratory system, so he wore a mask to breathe. Sidious kills Plagueis. Plagueis did not drink, did not party. He stayed focused on all of his things. Plagueis is a wonderful book as well. And Sidious kills Plagueis by the night that Palpatine is elected Emperor or whatever the shit. Not Emperor, the other thing, the Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
The night he gets elected Supreme Chancellor, Plagueis is sitting in his quarters when he comes home from whatever he was doing that night. And Plagueis and Sidious have this conversation about finally the vision of the Sith has come true. We have finally taken control of the galaxy again. And Sidious gets Plagueis to drink one glass of wine. And finally, Plagueis, after all of this that he goes through to set this up, because the truth is, Sidious didn't do shit. Plagueis did everything. Sidious was just the pawn piece. Well, Plagueis thought that Sidious was just a pawn piece moving across Plagueis' board. And Plagueis set everything up. So after all of this that he's done, it finally comes into fruition, and he finally gets a break, and he sits down, and he has his drink, and he falls asleep. At that point, Sidious, with just a little bit of force lightning, channels it straight into his breather and electrifies Plagueis to death through his breather. And this is where the shit gets crazy, if Darth Bane, this is my centric Tony belief, if Darth Bane was jumping from master to apprentice for 3,000 years, right up until that point, that would be the point that he wouldn't transfer, because that would be the point, because when Darth Bane takes on the persona, he would literally be the person in control. If Darth Bane was asleep and didn't know that it happened, boom, he wouldn't have his chance to transfer. And that would have been the one moment after 3,000 years that Darth Bane would have let his guard down, is the moment that everything comes into fruition and he thinks he's safe. And that's when he's killed. And that's when the transfer doesn't happen. And that's why Sidious fails, is because Sidious was running completely on his own fruition, not with the original plan, which leads to the downfall of the whole Sith religion and the Sith plan. Which also plays along with why Sidious said that if the Emperor dies, the Empire has to die with it, which is why he started destroying the Empire after he died. He literally put out his last order was kill off the Empire, because it's the Empire's obligation to make sure the Emperor lives, and if the Emperor dies, the Empire has earned its death as well. And that was literally Sidious's canon belief in the whole thing. If I die, burn this whole fucking place to the ground, because it doesn't deserve to live either. So that's my personal belief. That's what I thought we were going to lead to, and that Snoke was actually some sort of Bane worshiper that was trying to get things back in line, and he was using Kylo Ren, and that's where you get like the Knights of Ren and all that kind of shit, and all that just fucking blew up and was nothing. So that was my thing.
I just found it annoying that they introduced this massive power and then killed him off in 2 episodes.
Yeah,
and we still know next to nothing.
Yeah, Ty Darian You know, he hit the nail on the head. He said that dude Ryan or Rian Johnson, whatever his name was, the director of Jedi, Last Jedi, was he just wanted to burn the whole thing down and start over. He hated the fact that um, Kathleen Kennedy, and J.J. Abrams were giving off the impression that they were just going to recycle the story again of the Star Wars, you know, rinse and repeat, which I have no problem with that for 3 more movies. I have no problem with them rinsing and repeating for 3 more movies to end the Star Wars or the Skywalker saga, because that's what this has been. Or you can call it the C-3PO saga, because the only character in every single movie is C-3PO. And I think R2-D2 isn't even in every one of them, but C-3PO is in every freaking movie, I think.
The real hero.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the story of the Skywalker. It's the Skywalker story. It's under the guise of Star Wars, but it's actually the Skywalker. So I have no problem with them taking 3 more movies to properly end the Skywalker saga and then set the stage for, you know, 50 more movies. I have really no problem with that. But Rian Johnson, whatever the hell his name is, Rian Johnson said, fuck all that. Whatever Snoke was going to be, he's not going to be it. Kylo is not going to turn to the dark side, and everything is done. And I'm okay with, I actually really liked Kylo's whole, like, fuck this whole thing. Fuck the Jedi. Fuck the Sith. Fuck the First Order. Fuck it all. I don't care about any of this shit. It didn't work for my mom. It didn't work for my uncle. It didn't work for my grandpa. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about any of this. All I want to do is just run everything so I can build it in my image of what I want. And I want Rey to be there because she's as powerful as I am, and we can just beat the shit out of anybody who says no, and we'll bring true balance and true order to the galaxy. I can dig that shit. Oh,
I liked that. And then she rejected him.
yeah, and then she was like, nope. She's like, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this with you. Which I thought was a great climactic scene with the two of them fighting over the lightsaber. I love how they've really built that she's as powerful as he is, even though it's kind of corny because she's known that she's had the Force in movie for all of a week, I think.
Yeah.
It's as only as long as that from the time she was on that planet to now. I think it's like only a week's passed. I don't know, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little ridiculous.
Yeah, that she's as powerful as him. So again, I've told everybody that I think at the end of the day, she is a clone of Luke Skywalker. You know, I've got my own reasons behind it. Everybody thinks I'm stupid for thinking that, but that would explain why she's so powerful right off the bat. It's because she'll be imbued with his Force knowledge, like they've talked about in all the books. That if there's 2 clones and they're both if you clone a powerful Force user, that clone inherits their, you know, that's all part of the Thrawn trilogy or the Timothy Zahn books, and anybody who talks about cloning, the Revan clones all were imbued with Revan's power at hatching. So yeah, so that would explain that. But if they end up saying that she really is, like Kylo says, she's a nothing from the planet, I'm cool with that because it shows that the Force is broader than just the Skywalker family, which is an important narrative to push. But if she's that powerful that early and she just like freaking hatched from the desert and she's like freaking Kylo Ren, who's a pure, you know, from the pure bloodline of the midichlorian bloodline, and she's as powerful as him, and she's just, you know, I don't buy that shit.
I don't even care about the straight Force power, just the fact that you got a guy that's part of the First Order who's been trained and raised his whole life, you know, with a lightsaber. She picks one up, has never been a sword fighter, and all of a sudden is holding her own. Like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm done.
yeah.
The stick thing, which
What's
I
that?
don't think is. She also used that stick thing. I don't know what it's called.
Oh,
It's
Yeah,
just
she had a
staff.
staff
Yeah, just a staff
on
she
the
built.
planet, but still, I mean, she was using the staff from like a survivor, you know, where Kylo Ren's been,
Yeah.
you know, military
Staff-
training, you know, with a lightsaber.
Staffs are far different technique than sword.
True.
Yeah, especially since let's not forget that Kylo was raised from the time he was 2 by Luke Skywalker in how to learn how to use a lightsaber, and then she just picks one up and is his equal and cuts him and shit. So the only way they can really explain that is if they pull in the whole cloning deal. That's why I'm sticking to I think she's Luke's clone. Everybody thinks I'm stupid, and that probably won't be that. because God forbid they choose the one thing that actually ties shit together and possibly save some fucking, something from the movie. But probably most likely it'll be that she's a desert rat who just, for whatever reason, is as powerful as Kylo Ren, the grandchild of Darth Vader. And the child of Lady Vader. If you don't know the Lady Vader reference, you got to read Timothy Zahn's first book series from the 90s. He's actually got a trilogy that he's built that they recontracted him for the Thrawn. There's 2 Thrawn books, and there's a third one coming out this summer that you guys got to read. It's really good. But yeah, so there you go. That's my piece on that whole thing.
Maybe a descendant of Starkiller.
I love Starkiller. I love that story. How badass would it be that Kylo Ren is out searching shit to find a way to, become more powerful. He goes to Vader's castle, and guess who's waiting there for him? Frickin' Starkiller, because Starkiller's actually been working on the side with Ahsoka. Like that whole theory that you get that's out there where Ahsoka is still alive. She's recruited Starkiller, and they're working on the side to recruit Jedi so that the First Order doesn't find them. You're Force sensitive, and then have Starkiller sitting there with Ren and be like, either you're gonna join us or I'm gonna fucking kill you right now. I think that should be badass.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many. I'm not sure what the greatest feat is for force use, but pulling a what was it? A Star Destroyer out of the sky is a pretty big feat.
Yeah, pretty amazing. It was that's a great character as well. Starkiller was. They did a good job with that. The Force Unleashed, right?
Is that the video game that you were talking about?
Yes, it is
Okay,
canon.
cool.
Not.
Sure. I've never played it,
I'm
but I
not
do
sure.
remember like a preview of him pulling that Star Destroyer out of the sky.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's books that followed it that was really good too. I didn't get through all of them. I think there's 3. That could be a lie. I'm sure the internet will let me know I'm stupid, but there were some books that were made after that too. But yeah, he was the unknown. Vader attacks Kashyyyk in the attack on Kashyyyk, where they start to enslave the Wookiees. There was I can't remember if he was a defect, like he used to be a Jedi. So I don't know. I guess he was part of the Order, and he was part of the Jedi that lived, that weren't taken out in Order 66, and had a son. And Vader kills the father and takes the kid on as his unofficial apprentice and hides it, quote unquote, from the Emperor. And Starkiller, his first name, Bendick? I can't remember his first name. Is essentially Darth Vader's secret apprentice, and it follows his kind of his life, his story.
He also uses the same saber technique as Ahsoka with the whole backwards grip.
Yeah. That's why it would be really cool if Ahsoka actually is alive, because she's alive at the end of Rebels. But how cool it'd be that she's working on the, behind all the scenes in her own way, collecting Force sensitives, and Starkiller has been helping her. And now that there's this shit going down with the First Order, they finally step in and they're like, okay, all the Skywalkers are dead. It's time for us to start, the First Order's almost in ruins. And the rebellion is all but 1 ship, 2 ships is all. That would be really cool too, but that'll never happen.
Let's start the new order.
Yeah, exactly. The new order.
Well, it's called the First Order, right?
The Grand Order.
The New Order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. But yeah, that would be cool. There's a lot of cool things they could do, but with the way things are going, chances are
we can expect them to pick like the worst one.
Yeah, we could probably tell you exactly what's going on with the movie right now. What's going to happen is Luke's going to come back as an astral projection. He's going to teach Ren what she needs to know. Yoda will probably make a guest appearance, as well as Obi-Wan, just because, to help guide her a little bit. And Kylo is going to go completely megalomaniac and kill off Huxley or Hux, whatever his name is, and take over control of the First Order. And then he's gonna fight Rey, and Rey's gonna kill him, and he would be the last. Leia's gonna die off. Well, we already know Leia's gonna die. And then once she kills off Ren, then all of that's the last of the Skywalkers, and that's that.
They should have killed her off.
What do you mean? She's going to use her force powers and just basically Captain Marvel her way through the space and blasting all of the starships and kill them all.
Yeah, there you go.
She can survive that.
That's true. Yeah, she just Mary Poppins her way through space.
Yeah.
But she dead.
CGI.
Yeah, they CGI'd her into New Hope, or I mean in
I was really surprised they made her live. I'm like, wait, this is the perfect time to have her die and like make death meaningful.
yeah.
They still brought it back. I'm like, why? She's dead. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, because you could have eliminated her from the rest of the movie and been just fine. Like, you could have deleted all the rest of Carrie, God rest her soul, Carrie's scenes from the movie, and you don't lose anything in the movie. You could have reshot every scene that she was in and just have the one lady live, you know, and have somebody else pilot the ship into the Super Death Star, whatever the shit it was, the Dreadnought, and have her live, and she just takes on all of Leia's scenes, and then she just lives on to be the commander of the First Order. And they would have been good, you know, end of story. They don't need a CGI Carrie in for the first 10 minutes of the movie and then kill her or whatever the hell they're going to have to do.
I think that was a really big mistake on their part. Just that scene.
It's kind of like a car crash. It's horrible, but you can't look away.
Oh yeah, I'll be going to the theater and watching it. I'll go to the theater and watch every Star Wars movie. It's my son loves them. I love them. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of an optimist in that kind of stuff. Bad Star Wars is better than no Star Wars, but that's just how I look at it.
Yeah, true.
I just really hope that Rey actually has. I just actually hope that Rey actually has a meaning to why she's so powerful and isn't just written badly.
Yeah.
Because right now she's just written badly.
Yeah, I mean there was a piece to it where I was thinking, okay, so there's another avenue they could take. So Luke creates the new Jedi Academy, and that's canon. That's in the movie. That's where he and Ben were, and so this is the thing. Where was he getting the other force sensitives then? That means that they would have had to be, somebody was out there collecting force sensitives for him. So what they could very easily do is, well, but the time frame doesn't really work out. This is where it gets stupid, because the other thing is I was thinking, well, maybe Rey is actually younger than she looks, and maybe she was a force sensitive that they had picked up and then found out the academy had been taken out, so they dropped her off on Jakku. But then again, if you think about it, her age is, she's like the same age as Ben, so she'd be a teenager when she would have been dropped at Jakku, so that doesn't work. So you'd have to make her like 10 years younger than Ben. And I don't know if that would work out.
Wasn't there some teaser or spoiler in the Battlefront game, or whatever it's called, the Star Wars fighting game, like at the end of their story concerning her parent?
The one I think you're thinking about is...
I'm not sure, because I never played either one of them. Because like I said, I'm been done with Star Wars for a long time, but somebody said there was something at the end that was kind of a spoiler.
There was the only one that I know of was actually in,
and it had something to do with like why she was on that planet, something like that. But I could be completely off.
Yeah, the one. Let's see. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The one that I think the only one that I know of was in the Disney, what's the Disney game with it's like Skylanders, you put the little freaking thing on the portal. Disney whatever the hell it was.
Well, I'm talking specifically from the Battlefront game.
I don't know. I didn't see any spoilers from the Battlefront game. Not that I can remember. I'd have to Google it. But there was one that was from the Disney Infinity. That's what it was, where she's fighting Kylo and she says, "Okay, cousin, let's do this." But if you listen back, she doesn't say cousin. She says something else that sounds like cousin. It's just it sounds like cousin because of her British accent. So there is that. That was the only spoiler that I knew about. I don't know about the Battlefront games. I'd have to Google that. I'm not sure. But I played all the way through Battlefront 2. And unless it's from the Jakku, I don't know where it would be. Because unless it was like something that said in the middle of a multiplayer run when she happens to be fighting another player who's playing Kylo, and something said. But Battlefront 2 is all about Inferno Squad. Unless it's Battlefront 1, and I didn't see that one there either.
Maybe somebody was teasing me then, knowing I would never played it anyhow.
Yeah, I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to Google that. I'm sure Twitterverse or Twitchverse will let me know. But who knows? I don't know. What else does somebody got? Anybody got anything? I don't have anything. I'm looking at the chat. If anybody in chat wants something they want brought up, now's the time to speak up.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right.
Until next week.
Well, I think we'll call it here. Go ahead, JT.
I was just going to say, unless you wanted to talk about power gaming or the dice system or something else, or if you want to dedicate a whole episode to that, that's fine too. So
well, we still got 20 minutes. We can kind of dig through this.
Oh,
you know what? Nope. We'll
the
save
whole
that for next
min-maxing
week.
thing?
Yeah, let's save that for next week because that's a great subject to start off. I'll go ahead and put that in the comments for next week. Next week's not Christmas, right? What the hell's the date next week? 7 days from now? Not quite Christmas.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not quite Christmas.
Min-maxing.
That was it. I remember somebody had said something about it.
I
Yeah,
did.
min-maxing.
I did. That's what I was trying to remember. That was the whole damn thing that Rick Hale and I were talking about was min-maxing. Pros and cons, whether it actually exists, the whole 9 yards. That's a good one. So we're going to leave that as our cliffhanger. Anybody listening, leave comments you're about min-maxing. I'll review them, make sure I get them in. Everybody that joined me today, thank you very much. Order from Order Azaleus. Everyone's welcome to come back. I don't know if I'll have a panel again next week. We'll see how many people can show up. The only reason for the panel is so that there's actual involvement, but we seem to all be participating really, really well, and I do really appreciate that. So yeah, again, this is Von Bolo from Dice Mob Gaming. Twitter is at Dice Mob Gaming. Twitch is twitch.tv/Dice Mob Gaming. YouTube, Dice Mob Gaming. I see a steady theme there. So we're from the Order of Azaleus. We are a Discord group. You guys are welcome to join. You can find all the links at the website. And everybody have a great week. If you don't tune in, happy holidays if you celebrate them. If not, I hope everything goes great. And everybody keep rolling those dice. Have a great week.